determination, passion, stamina, and the will to win. The end result, the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Extreme Motorsports brings you the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, brought to you by Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment, and by Proforma, Elite Texas Graphics. Live, Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Look at that. Does that not encapsulate what Roval racing is all about? Here we are at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a new time zone, but the same on-track action as always. As we enter the summer for 2020 for the first time soon enough. It's not summer yet. We're getting there, though. And we're at Charlotte Motor Speedway, of course, located in North Carolina in the United States of America. Welcome to round 7 of 16 for the round 7 of season 16 for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. All coverage, of course, on Apex Racing TV exclusively this season for season 16 and all past seasons, of course. It's a 3.5 kilometer circuit, 2.2 miles around the Roval, 17 corners. The course was built around a couple of years ago, and it almost looks like a street circuit. It rounds itself clockwise around the oval, and it will produce 60 minutes of racing action later today. We're currently in qualifying for the moment. You can see our MX-5 field lapping away, ready to set some lap times. We had a hectic qualifying session last time out for the MX-5, so we'll keep track of that. But in the meantime, for myself, Jonathan Simon, Tyler Maxson alongside me. Tyler, goodness me, welcome to Roval in Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is an iconic Roval, as we see someone spin in the background there in the back of shot, but it's an iconic layout now already. I think this has been a fan favorite among the drivers and the fans to not just drive, but to watch racing around the past few years.
Yeah, it's certainly an exciting layout to watch, and it's certainly an exciting layout for us to be able to commentate here in the Sports Car Series. It is such an interesting racetrack. A lot of drivers, I don't really think, have figured this racetrack out yet. I think that a lot of people are still figuring this track out, even though it's been on the NASCAR, or even though it's been on the service for some time now. It's not a popular road racing track. I mean, this is really a NASCAR driver's track, and we usually don't see series like this where there's a lot of there's 3 different classes of road car coming to it. So it's definitely interesting, but it's going to make for some exciting racing tonight. And these little nimble little cars that we have will find it pretty easy to get around these pretty big corners.
Well, let's take you around this 3.5 kilometer circuit in today's track guide.
Welcome, everyone, to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this technical road course here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This course was originally constructed in 1959 and has been an icon in oval racing ever since. But today, we are driving the renovated road course that stretches 2.28 miles in length. Well, let's begin our track guide around this fast and thrilling Roval course as we approach the final chicane here that will bring us out onto the front straightaway to get our lap started around this just unbelievably fast and very technical course. Down into turn 1 here, I call this the cattle chute. Very tight section here, especially at the beginning of races. You can imagine how packed this can get with a full field of cars. Coming out of turn 2, we approach turn 3. This is just a brush of the brakes. Let the car roll down to apex. We're going to set up a late entry into turn 4. And we're going to use up every bit of that exit out of 4 on this little straight down into turn 5. Again, a wide entry, let the car roll center, and then we have to set up for a very tight right-hander here, the tightest corner on the road course section, into a dip of turn 7. And this will bring us out near the wall for a wide late apex into turn 8, and ultimately right up onto the oval banking of the course, turn 9. This is where drivers can stretch their legs, get that speed opened up on the car, and obviously look for those draft opportunities to do some overtaking coming into turn 11 and 12 down here, which is a very tight chicane. You'll see this is very difficult to get into on entry, and then right back to the right out of 12. Get that back end a little bit loose, trying to get to power there. And then coming out of turn 12, we're up onto the banking of turns 13 and 14 here. Again, another fast section and another overtaking opportunity. Of course, for multi-class racing, good opportunity for those faster class cars to get around other drivers. Coming down into the final 2 corners, 16 and 17, very tight chicane. Easy on the exit, and watch that wall. As we come across the start-finish line, there's a very fast and thrilling lap around Charlotte Motor Speedway road course. We appreciate you being with us.
So the championship is heating up, of course, and if we look at the first of our 3 classes of cars, we technically have 4 classes, but of course 3 different cars, if that makes sense, to be racing on the racetrack. This is your TCR Pro standings on screen right now. Kevin Carlisle leading the championship by, we can finally say, a dominant margin, you know, ahead of Brandon Whitworth. And he's got a few race wins now to his name, and he drove really well last time out at Road Atlanta, Tyler.
Yeah, Kevin, he's really been the consistent one in this TCR championship. He hasn't been in all that many incidents besides the first couple that he had in kind of the opening races when this class was relatively new and really no one knew what they were doing, I don't think, with this TCR per se yet. But he's had a lot of consistent finishes as of late. He's not on the pole today. He's currently in second place by just about 1/10 of a second, but that doesn't mean that he can't win the race. And like you said, he has a pretty dominant margin now over Brandon Whitworth. But Whitworth doesn't have hardly any of a margin over third place Matt Madigan.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Madigan's driven well, of course, too, in the past few rounds. Both he and teammate Jeff Appelgren will be looking for another good round here today from the Charlotte Roval. But when we look over at our GS standings, so this is your Grand Sport class. These are your Ford Mustangs racing out there today. Now, for Aeronom, it hasn't been the easiest of seasons to begin 2020, but he still leads the championship. Credit to Mike Dam for all of that pressure. He's made the Estonian work in season 16 so far.
Yeah, he really has. And what could be, I'm only speculating, but what could be the final season of GS Mustangs that we see out on the racetrack. But you never know what the series decides to do. But you never know what we will see coming up, and I think that these guys are really racing it like this could be the final season of the Mustang. You know, these guys are having incredible racing. Mike Dam is, like you said, making Aeronom work for this championship. There is 1 point between these two, and we still have a lot of rounds to go, though. So one of the two could pull a gap, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, these guys have really just traded victory time and time again.
And when we flick over to our ST standings, these are your MX-5 standings. Look at a car in the wall in the background, of course, too. That's a bit dramatic there. We're about to look at the standings for those MX-5 cars. DJ Alessandrini versus Robert Hartley at Road Atlanta was one of the best races I've ever seen in iRacing history. It was just a battle to remember for sure. Now, we don't see Hartley in the standings there, Tyler, of course, because Robert Hartley has been absent from a lot of races this year.
Yeah, I don't even think he's eligible for points. I think he's missed that many races this year, which is really unfortunate because he's really fast, you know, and he can definitely be a challenger for the championship if he was really, you know, able to commit the time to it. But nonetheless, he's still going to be a challenger today. And isn't going to let these guys really get away with anything. Right now, the whole top 4 in qualifying, I think there's about 0.7 of a second between the top 5. I mean, that is nothing in these MX-5s.
And then the open standings, of course, Jason Bossy leads that by a comfortable margin. Bossy did also take the win at Road Atlanta, and he's, tell you what, was contending with the pro drivers quite a bit. So good drive from Jason Bossy for the Esport Racer team. And you can see a few Esport Racer cars in that open class. I'm sure I'd like to see a few of those drivers, especially Bossy, make a step up into the pro class for next season and challenge that top talent. Now, here we go. A few minutes left in qualifying for the moment. Tyler, this racetrack is, like I said earlier, it has a real street circuit feel to it. Is that because of the close proximity of all the barriers?
It certainly is. I mean, this is a pretty tricky track to get around, to be honest with you. You know, whenever you're really pushing the limits, this track, it can be quite challenging. The curbs are huge. Let me tell you that. Let's ride on board here, actually, with Jim List, just through this first sector alone, and you can just see how big the curbs are for yourself. I mean, in these MX-5s, they use up a ton of them, and it's just a really challenging racetrack to get around in general with how big the curbs are, but it can also be a nice track to drive to some of the time. If you have a little bit of a hairy moment, you've got quite a large racetrack to kind of catch yourself on, being that there's usually big NASCARs around here.
One of the most exciting laps I've ever seen around here, and one of the most thrilling laps I've seen on iRacing, was Max Verstappen's world record around here when this track was first released on iRacing. Now, that was in an open wheeler. It was the Dallara Formula 3. And I tell you what, on board watching that lap, if you've ever seen it before, you just get a gist for not only how skilled Max is, but how tough it is to get a good lap time around here, Tyler. You know, you really have to be on the limit here. You really have to be pushing it up close to the barriers, especially through the infield.
Yeah, you really got to push this car. I mean, this is something that I don't think a lot of drivers think about whenever they think about this racetrack. You know, this is one of those tracks to extract every last quarter of a second, tenth of a second, hundredth of a second, or even thousandth of a second. You have to be pushing so hard here. And it really isn't a track where pushing hard and making slight mistakes pays off for you, as qualifying just now comes to an end. And you can see it there through the final chicane, where if you make a slight mistake, you're going to end up in a tire or in a very hard concrete wall. Same thing with the corner heading onto the banking. It's a very tough racetrack to get fully right and to get a perfect lap on.
Let me tell you something. Jim List so far on provisional pole has aced qualifying the past couple of weeks. He qualified really well at Road Atlanta 2. We're watching Elvis Rankin on screen, who's currently second. I think, Tyler, this lap may count. I think he's crossed the line, so Rankin will be able to set a quick lap time here. He's currently on the front row. Let's see whether or not he can improve to pole position. Gets a bit of draft to help him. Why not? And now you get oh no, he pulls into the pit lane. Oh, a bit of an anticlimax there for Rankin, as qualifying session is done and dusted for all your drivers in the MX-5 field. Now the session will switch over soon enough. We'll take a look at the grid when we can. Strategy today, Tyler. We're expecting all cars as usual to take 2 tires, and those pit stops will take place about midway through the race.
Yeah, pit stops taking place about midway through the race. We should expect, at least in your Audi TCR here, so I'll just kind of read through all the different what we expect here on fuel strategy. We're expecting their pit stop window to open about 28 to 30 minutes into the race and close at about the 45-minute mark. And then for your GS Mustang fuel, we're expecting them to be able to go about the same, but we're expecting them to only be able to maximum go to about the 35-minute mark. And then for your Mazdas, they will open at about the 25-minute marks when we're kind of expecting them to come in first, and then we're expecting them, the last of them, to be coming in right at about the 45-minute mark. So definitely a pretty even strategy. Most drivers are expected to take 2 tires. This isn't a super tire-heavy track, being that the majority of it is run on the banking, so there's really no tire wear to be had there, as the grid will be up on your screen momentarily.
So time to look at the grid for today's event here. It'll be round 7 of 16, the season coming towards the closing stages to begin 2020. Matthew Madigan on pole position. Didn't we discuss him impressing recently in that Audi RS3 TCR vehicle? He's currently on pole by 1/10 of a second ahead of championship leader Kevin Carlisle, and of course his title rival in Brandon Whitworth. So the 3 title challengers here for 3 separate teams, all looking to fight and scrap it out for the race win today. It's only an 8-car field for your TCR order. It's rounded out by Riley Downey, who didn't have the best of qualifying performances, but will start from 8th nevertheless. For your GS class, Estonian Eero Nom will start on pole position. Critical for him, he leads that championship so far. And we also have a small field for your GS class. But for Eero Nom, it hasn't been a small battle, has it, this year? He clean swept every race win for season 15. And he's found season 16, following the previous season, to be even tougher. And one of the most toughest seasons he's ever had to battle it out. Of course, that's due to Mike Dan, the Canadian, who will start from 2nd. The Crypto Orange racing driver has made Nom work for every 10th of a second this season. Jeff Jacobs, Kevin Ford will start behind them. The rest of the grid rounded out by Robert Brist, starting down the order. The MX5 field, it's certainly been the most exciting field for season 16, and it didn't disappoint, hasn't it? Shouldn't disappoint at Charlotte Motor Speedway here. Jim List will start on pole position for the D2D Esports team. Now, Jim List has been a great qualifying specialist the past 2 weeks, so the question is whether or not he can keep this pace come race time and manage the new tires that were introduced a few months ago to end 2019 on that MX5, and see if he can handle them throughout this event. Elvis Rankin will start from 2nd, trying to find that form he had early on in the season, which helped him claim his first 2 career victories in the series. DJ Alessandrini, what a race that was last week. Will we get a repeat of that again? Robert Hartley starts behind him. Sandwiched between the both of them is Travis Schwenke, the Excite Racing / Asbury Motorsports driver, representing both teams, of course, and tests a lot with Robert Hartley. Now, have a lot of information to spread between the both of them for sure. John Allen starting down the order behind Jason Bossy. I think that just goes to show how impressive Jason Bossy has been this season to be able to climb his way ahead of John Allen. And that's why I think Jason should make that step up to pro next season for the eSport Racer team. Jacob Beasley, I think he needs a consistent event. Jacob Beasley, he needs to finish this one. Can't get into any trouble. He's had a bit of a knack for that the past few weeks. So in his first season for D2D Esports, it's critical right now that he claims some good finishes to finish off the season. And then we cycle through the rest of the grid on screen. There are a multitude of cars. The biggest class, of course, is your MX5 order. It's rounded out by Oliver Hartley, with no relation to Rob, one of the best iRacers of all time. Here we go, Tyler. Race about to begin. Now, turn 1 here can get very tight. What are the keys for these drivers right now to manage the start, especially for Matt Madigan on pole?
One word: patience. Patience is key here at the Charlotte Roval. Going down to turn number 1, especially with the cold tires. All the cars now have the V7 tire model on them. The Audi TCR and MX5 had that last season, but the Mustangs now have to cope with that as they head down into turn number 1. It's not going to make it easy for them, considering this is the first race that they've had it, but they've had some time to test it. They've had about a week now. It was not as spontaneous as it was for the MX5s last time we came here, or last time there was an update to that. So, with the field rounding now through the hardest corner on the entire racetrack, that is the hairpin. We're going to see some pileups there, let's just say that. At least one car is going to hit the wall in this race there. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is slide out wide, and then you're going to eat straight concrete.
Yeah, it's a tough corner for sure here. Pace car will pull in any moment now, and it'll be Matt Madigan to floor it for 60 minutes of racing action. Welcome to Apex Racing TV from Jonathan Simon, from Tyler Maxson alongside me. We hope you enjoy all the action from today's event. It's going to be Madigan in the Nerdworks car to floor it. TCR goes on iRacing green, and I just heard it. The driver's ready to floor it here. We go green for 60 minutes of action. Eric Violet bullied out of the way, and he remains in fourth. And have a look at this. Edgar Sancinelli trying to look at Violet for that fourth position. They're going to remain in formation here through the first sector. Pretty clean start once they cross the line here for your TCR field. Madigan leads, of course, officially. Now we switch over to your GS class. Aero Nom ready to floor it. He leads the field away, and he's alongside Mike Dam here in a drag race for the lead.
And he will easily get it. Everybody slots in a line here through turn number 1. Nobody making contact even further back. They're all staying in line quite easily. There was a change for position in your TCR, but we're going to have to jump back and take a look at MX5. They're side-by-side into turn number 1. That's Rankin and Alessandrini, neither of which back out of it, and they are still side-by-side as they head through turns 2 and into one of the very tricky corners on the racetrack. Easy to push out wide and get caught out by the flattening at the top of that sweeper.
Oh, and there's a 16 of Schwenke. Why is he so far ahead above the field? So has something gone wrong for Schwenke here? He's starting to drop down the order. I'd love to catch a replay of that start because, well, anyway, we'll talk about that later. Here's Jim List here diving through the exit of the infield. Rankin still chasing. Alessandrini right behind, ready to pounce. Robert Hartley up a position into fourth after issues for Travis Schwenke here at the start. Now, I'm very confused by this, Tyler. Has Schwenke false started or something? I missed that.
Schwenke actually started from the pit lane here today. So Travis Schwenke, he left the pit lane once we went green flag, but that means that he is now a lap down on the rest of your field. Wow, that was close for Jim List. Heading out of the very tight hairpin, he nearly collected the wall.
Yeah, one car taking off the racetrack there through that chicane. Now here's the rest of the field coming through here. This is the number 60 there you can see of Chris Thorman. I think he was one of the drivers that took off the racetrack. But yeah, Schwenke is a lap down already. His race is essentially already over.
No,
in contact.
Thorman goes around, and that is very unfortunate there. Let's get a replay of what exactly happened. I think we pretty much had the best seat in the house for it, but we'll take a little bit of a different view. And you can see Chris Thorman understeers into the eSport racer car. I believe that was the 62 of Greg Brockway. And contact for them, unfortunately, sends Chris Thorman around.
Yep, certainly does. So Jim List still leads the field away, like we said, and hopefully no more contact, at least with the leaders. But behind them, the positions have changed. It's DJ Alessandrini into second after making a move on the young Elvis Rankin. You can see at the top of your screen each class of car identified by a different color on our overlay. So keep track of those, whether it's the TCRs, the Mustangs, or your orange MX-5 order. This is DJ Alessandrini fighting for the lead alongside Jim List here at the back chicane. And they have to form up right now. It's only single file through here, much like Daytona's road course chicane.
Yeah, very similar to that. Now we ride on board here with DJ Alessandrini very close to the rear bumper of Jim List. These guys aren't letting them have any sort of gaps. They're pretty much banging doors here as we head into the final chicane, up and over the curbs for both of them, and it will be Alessandrini who leads now as we work on lap number 3.
And look at this, Hartley around the outside, Rankin up the inside for second. Brilliant pass there by Rankin, and he keeps Jim List honest. So, like I said, Tyler, this could be a slipstream, steady race for these drivers. And you're someone who raced the MX-5 last year. We know you've made the switch to the TCR for 2020 and doing quite a good job of it, I must say. But for these cars, it's all really about the draft here at Charlotte. So Jim List can't keep himself down, can't put his head down for losing the lead. He just needs to keep his head up and look to make a pass back here on Elvis Rankin.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, you can't let one position rock you, and we know Jim List, he races this MX-5 in real life. He's going to know how this car reacts and how the draft is going to be so important here at the Charlotte Roval. Now, the question I have is, did DJ Alessandrini get too much of a gap out in the lead. He's currently leads by 1 second, but was that a little bit too much? Should he have backed off the gap just a little bit so that Elvis Rankin couldn't get the ideal draft on him here in a couple of laps' time? I think the answer to that is going to be it won't matter anyway, because he is still pulling away. What a drive Allison Drini is doing here.
That shot always gets me there through the turn 11-12 back straight chicane. I always think the cars are going to hit the wall, but they don't. Now Hartley here on the attack, looking for a move on List. They enter the final chicane. This is turns 16 and then 17 to end the lap. Bit squarely through the exit. Almost a loss of traction for Hartley, but he keeps the car together there. And now they enter a new lap here to begin the field. So anyway, let's have a look through the rest of your field. Matt Madigan is, well, here he is on screen, starting to begin to lap a few MX-5s on screen. And Carlisle, will his win streak be broken right now? Because Madigan looks comfortable here through the traffic.
Yeah, Madigan looks very comfortable through traffic, but you almost have to say, I mean, traffic is almost a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill. It's pretty much 50-50 in my opinion, because there you go. Matt Madigan gets a little bit of his nose chopped by the MX-5. Now Kevin Carlisle is all up his rear bumper once again, and that's really all it takes. You know, it takes one driver getting chopped, one driver getting let through to completely dissipate any advantage you have when you're the faster classic car.
Yep, there you go. This is going to be Carlisle potentially making a move for the lead here as they enter the oval for the first time this lap. And this is Tony Kernan behind. Kernan's in 5th, right behind Eric Violet, who didn't have the best of getaways. So these are 2 scraps ready to take place. Don't think the lead's going to switch here as they enter the turn 11-12 chicane. That's going to remain between Madigan and Carlisle. And again, pushing to the wall, aren't they here? That shot is going to get me for the rest of the hour. I'm always going to think someone's going to end up in the wall. For Kernan, he remains behind Violet, of course, too. But Mike Dam all over the rear end of Aero Nom here for the lead of your GS class. 0.2 of a second the gap between the both of them. And this could end well for Mike Dam.
Yes, come in very, very well for Mike Dam here. He is all over the bumper now of Aero Nom. Backs off a little bit into the chicane. And he will not make the move this time, but gets a better run through it. And is back on the gas early. Look at the run he's got now. He may have a chance into the final chicane this time. And they're going to be side by side. And this is going to be tricky to see if Aero Nom tries to hang around the outside. If he does, then he is not going to have the easiest time in doing so. But he will have the inside for the next corner. And they make contact. Mike Dam is spun around. No. And Aero Nom is into him. Oh, that's unfortunate. Nom spins around. Jacobs takes the lead. Jacobs into the wall. Ford hits into Jacobs. Wow, what did we just witness?
So is Kevin Ford in the lead? That's the question. It's a bit confusing. It is officially updated. 4 of your leaders in the GS class all involved in one incident, and there looks like issues for Kevin Ford. So just like Motegi, Aero Nom and Mike Dam collide, the championship rivals. Kevin Ford's race could be over after that damage. Mike Dam's right behind here with some damage there. He'll probably reclaim the victory. But goodness me, the last thing Kevin Ford needed. But the replay is up on screen, and this brings you memories of Motegi a few weeks ago.
And this is such an easy incident to happen. I mean, Mike Dam didn't give Aero Nom enough room there. And then I'm trying to get the whole picture. So we're going to have to watch this replay several times. I am sorry about that, but I just want to make sure that we get the whole picture of what happened here. So we'll go in slow motion down into the final chicane. So Aero Nom on the outside. Here is a nice shot of that. So Aero Nom's on the outside. Mike Dam is on the inside. And then Dam just kind of misses the corner a little bit. Didn't really expect Nom to be there. Into the side of him. Nom up and over the curbing and into, and then spins him around. And then here we have Kevin Ford. Here's actually, wait a minute, no, we still have one other innocent bystander. We have Jeff Jacobs, who comes through first. And
had the lead for a moment, didn't he?
Yeah, he had the lead for a moment, and then I think he actually, yeah, so there you go. He turns And Jacobs actually
Was there
spins himself.
contact?
No, he actually
Yeah.
spun himself. Okay, so bit interesting. I thought that he had made contact, but no, he actually spun himself and into the wall. Whenever he bounces off Kevin Ford, the innocent bystander and all almost makes it through and ends up making contact there. So that is extremely unfortunate. I mean, look at how close that was too.
The biggest thing I've learned in sim racing, especially, you know, Tyler, you're someone who races in the real world. I've raced in World Championship sim racing, but when it comes to incidents, I think when I was a young sim racer, I never really backed off when it came to incidents in front of me, and then I would get caught up in them. I think you got to treat it like the real world, even though you're in the sim. You know, if there's an incident in front of you, I just sort of back off the gas, just really lose that half a second where I need to. I don't mind it as long as the rest of my race is completed. So unless you're going for the win here on the final lap, it's not worth it. But I think that sometimes, you know, certainly, unfortunately for Kevin Ford, you know, it was not his fault at all. But now his race is almost essentially over. And look at your timing screen for your GS class, Tyler, as well. That is ridiculous. 4 drivers left.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Now, we had a couple other incidents happen while we were looking at that. Everybody just decided that they were going to have an incident. Oh, and that was contact for the lead at TCR. And then more contact. And Jacob Beasley spun around. Wow,
goodness
okay.
me. Not Jacob Beasley's fault for sure, but I'm surprised. That was like a brick wall, wasn't it? Kevin Carlisle's Apex Racing Team car. And now we watch Hartley here versus... what's this for? Oh, goodness. Into the wall they go. This is chaos, guys. Come on.
That's Elvis Rankin into the back of a... Who is that actually? Who did he actually hit? He hit one of the Mustangs. That was a parked Mustang that he hit. And nowhere to go. Into the back of Russ Ruddick, I believe. Yes, it was. Hartley, the innocent bystander and all that as well. He gets spun around. I mean, what have we just witnessed in the last, like, 3 laps?
It doesn't matter who's at fault for all these incidents. It's just notable, and we just have to remind everybody that these are avoidable. That's all that matters at the moment, is the race will continue nevertheless here. Alessandrini maintains a 5-second lead now on Jim List and the rest of the bunch. But come on, guys. I mean, the series is it's one of the best series in iRacing, isn't it? The Ricmotech SportsCar series, Tyler. But today, it hasn't shown it, has it?
No, I mean, it really hasn't. This is definitely not the most appropriate, you know, kind of show of what we usually see. We usually see a lot cleaner racing. As here's Riley Downley going for the move here on Tony Kernan into the final chicane. Thinks better of it. That's probably the smarter thing to be doing. And not going for a move there, because that's definitely, we proved that time and time again. The final chicane is not the place to be making a move. If you're going to make a move, make it in turn 1.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it'll be odd to see a pass here into the infield. But Riley Downey's certainly going to be looking to make that happen here on Tony Kernan. You know, this infield section, you know, the Phoenix infield, if you've ever driven around there, that's it's got potential to be a good infield, but I don't know, there's something about it. It feels too empty. I feel like the Charlotte's gone for one way or the other. They've made it either look like a street circuit or opened it up and made it, you know, look atmospheric like Daytona. But Phoenix has neither of those. I feel like that's the potential there for Phoenix to improve on.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. I feel like Charlotte kind of hit it right. You know, oh, Madigan with a mistake. And that is going to be Kevin Carlisle into the lead. Whitworth up into second. And that's all it takes. Matt Madigan demoted down into 3rd place now.
Yeah, so for Madigan, we'll talk about Phoenix in a more important time. But here is the issue for Madigan. What's happened here, Tyler? Has he outbraked himself?
Car slid on the entry, and at that point, he's just a passenger. He's literally, I mean, the rear end was just hopping. You could hear it with it hop, pop, 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 pop into the corner. He couldn't quite get it down to the curb. I think if he got it down to the curb and really used that to slow him down, I feel like he could have caught that a little bit easier, but there was no having it there. And Madigan, though, able to continue, luckily, because that usually ends with somebody at a concrete wall. I've seen it time and time again there. That's not a fun corner to have a rear braking issue with.
Yeah, and Tyler, it is a front-wheel drive car, the TCR, so the rear end has certainly slipped away from him there. How's that happened?
I mean, it can happen in a variety of ways. Going in a little bit too hard into the corner, especially into there where it's kind of bumpy as is into that corner, so it's definitely not an easy corner to get the braking right anyway. And then you add the fact that the car is front-wheel drive, the majority of the brake bias is in the front. Whenever you're braking quite heavily into this corner, the rear end's very light, so the second it starts going around, it just kind of starts to hopping.
Well, there you go. Education lessons from now a race winner, Tyler, in TCR. A brilliant race from you, but we'll speak about it later. Madigan, as we remain watching on screen now, through the final chicane, and to begin another lap. We're a quarter of the way through this chaotic race here for the series. Tell you what, though, Tyler, as chaotic of a race it's been here from Charlotte so far, this has been my favorite season by far for the Ricmotech SportsCar series. It's provided entertainment in all areas of your field, top to bottom, all classes of cars. And we still have a few rounds to go for sure. But the championship is not on yet for Kevin Carlisle. He needs a couple of more race wins to seal it. He's doing so right now through the infield. He's doing a good job so far. And if we keep track of the gap, Tyler, it's about 1 second between himself and Whitworth. It's critical that Carlisle doesn't lose that advantage through the traffic. So how does he maneuver his way around this traffic? Patience?
I think so. I think patience is usually the safest option for him when it comes to going through traffic, but kind of you can do the aggressive strategy as well and really forcefully kind of get by the traffic, but there's a higher probability of you crashing if you do that. So you kind of run a risk, you know. You can go for the faster strategy of really pushing your way through the traffic, getting through there fast, but you have a higher chance at incidents, or you can go through the safe portion, and you could possibly lose a little bit of time. So it's kind of just about managing risk.
And now through the infield, your leaders go. Look at the gaps there. Purple lap for Matt Madigan in third. Fastest lap of the race so far in your TCR field. And he's looking to hunt down Kevin Carlisle for that lead after making a mistake a few minutes ago. Mike Dam leads by 1.8 seconds. Do you think now in your GS class, Tyler, that Aeronom's going to climb his way back up into first?
He definitely has a possibility to, but it's still a long shot. 1.6 second and 1.8 seconds actually. So, it's definitely going to be a challenge, but he has 40 minutes left to do it. So he can. We've seen him do it in the past, so I don't see why he can't do it again today. He certainly has pace. It's just about how well and consistent he can run it and how good they can get by the MX-5 traffic. That's going to be the biggest question mark.
Here's the Estonian screaming his way through your infield section right now. He's going to head to the final chicane. Excuse me, your oval section, I should say. Now heads through the final chicane. Throws the car over the curbs, doesn't he? And up close to the wall. He's lost no grit. Has Aeronom. See whether or not he can... he's caught the traffic at the worst time, hasn't he? He's on the brakes there, you can see. A quick dab of the brake there as the lights illuminate. That's the number 79 of Nicholas Parsono. He's done nothing wrong, Nicholas. Just needs to make sure he doesn't be too erratic out there on the racetrack. And ahead of him is Chris Thorman in the number 60 MX-5, who Nom will need to dispose of sometime soon. But he's caught them at the worst time, hasn't he? Right now for Aeronom. Man, look at that, Tyler. To create... I know it's a little artificial, but all that elevation change and everything at Charlotte, man, I love this circuit. When you drive around here, it's such a thrill.
Yeah, it really is. And, to be honest with you, I think they left a lot of the elevation change from the original road course that they had built a long, long time ago. And then whenever they built the Roval, they just kind of made it more real racetrack feeling, I think. They really just enhanced everything and made everything a little bit more of a smoother ride through. And Yeah, I think that, but I like how they really left the majority of it the same, but they just changed very small features here and there, and I think that that's what makes this track so cool to race at, is it's really just a revamped version of the old Charlotte.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Charlotte, one of the most iconic circuits out there in NASCAR, hosts the All-Star race, of course, who you and I, Tyler, were talking about. Imagine if they had the All-Star race in the future here, as Carlisle looks to be struggling with some traffic. But imagine if they had the All-Star race. We thought of two silly ideas. Have one of them not so silly. I liked yours, which was have half the race on the oval, half the race on the road course. And then I ridiculously said, why not do it at the same time? Like the old Monza back in the 60s. Have half the oval, and then when you finish the oval, you join the infield, and then you switch back onto the oval.
I mean, they really honestly could kind of do that to a certain extent if they cut out the back chicane, and then they cut out the last chicane. They can make it just a ridiculous scream from turn one all the way around, and then a hard braking zone into turn one again. Like, I mean, they could definitely make an altered version of it, which would be insane, and I don't even think it could pass safety regulations, because you'd be going into the first corner at probably about 150, 160 odd mile an hour, and then trying to get the car slowed down to about 40 or 50 mile an hour in less than 350 feet.
Yeah, and I was thinking as well, it's not like Monza where the oval goes above the road course, you know, with a bridge. Like this one, you have to crisscross somehow. It's almost going to be like figure eight racing in a sense.
Yeah, which, as fun as that sounds, I don't think that NASCAR teams and NASCAR are going to be too fond of people running at each other at like 180 miles an hour and possibly tearing up millions of dollars worth of race cars and also killing somebody. I just don't think NASCAR is going to go for that. Now, I would love to see it because I think it'd be cool. And it'd be definitely something different, but sadly, I don't think that either NASCAR nor the teams are going to be too fond of doing that.
Well, anyway, in the meantime, we got pit stops coming up now. The window's open 22 minutes into the event. We could see maybe not your TCR field, but certainly your MX-5s and your Mustangs make their first pit stops for the day. So we'll take a quick short break here from the Apex Racing TV commentary booth. We'll bring you all those pit stops coming up here as we watch Hero Tom and the rest of We talked about pit stops, already a few cars into the pit lane servicing right now. It's Eric Violet for the D2D Esports team, trying to make amends for his poor start to this race here. Will he climb back onto the podium? That's the aim for Eric Violet. He's out and away quickly here in that Audi TCR as we approach the half-hour mark of round 7, season 16 for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. All the action presented by Extreme Motorsports and, of course, Performer Elite Texas Graphics. Check them out at their associated websites and platforms. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Tyler Maxson alongside me. Hope you're enjoying the coverage here on Apex Racing TV. And Tyler, what have you made of the race so far? It's been an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly been interesting and exciting at that. I mean, there's really been no let-up of any sort of action in this one. It has been full bore the entire time. They have really delivered here today. An excitement factor, that is for sure. Now, it hasn't been the cleanest racing, but hey, you don't always have to have the cleanest racing to have some great racing. Now, something that I haven't been interested in, Travis Schwenke. He has been able to get himself back on the lead lap, and he's up into 7th place.
I find that weird. The timing screen did report him as it was almost a lap behind, wasn't it, Tyler? So I feel like it was a glitch with the timing screen because I don't think he's lost. If he's claimed a lap up like that, I mean, that's almost world record lap times, to be honest with you. So I feel like it was a glitch with the timing screen that we noticed in the opening lap.
I feel like it might have been too. I feel like what Travis did was Travis left the pit lane. He did a pit lane start and then left the pit lane, but it just recognized him as a lap down because he didn't actually cross the start-finish line the first time around instead of the rest of the field whenever they actually would have crossed the line twice before taking the green flag, whereas he only crossed it once. So I'm assuming that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see.
It's something that race control 100% will be looking at to review after the race because your TCR cars go on the iRacing green, so that automated little voice that you hear from the spotter. But the other two classes of cars will go on the race controls command as we watch Nicholas Parsonneau there. And a nice scrap as DJ Alessandrini, your leader, services his MX-5 for the first time and only time this evening. He's joined by second place Jim List, and we see one of the Audis behind. That looks like Lucas Ford into the pit lane here for Lucas Racing. But nevertheless, Tyler, what I should say is, yeah, I think the race control will be looking at that for sure. There's certainly been an error in terms of when he's been allowed to be brought onto the racetrack. John Allen, though, right behind Nicholas Parsonneau here for P5. Parsonneau's driven well this race, it has to be said. He hasn't made his pit stop, but he's still in a nice scrap here with John Allen and at least holding the Defined Auto Works driver up a little.
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't think John Allen will be too happy with this, considering he's already made his pit stop. Jim List is already out and away, and he is going to come out well ahead of John Allen. I don't believe they were close before, but John Allen definitely could have closed that gap up a little bit more than what he did. Possibly could have gotten by if he wasn't behind, but I mean, who am I really to say that? I mean, you never know what kind of pace these guys have been putting in, as that's a pretty nice slide there for John Allen. Oh, and there's another slide. Wow, okay. He's letting it hang.
Spectacular driving, not any quick though at all as we watch Hero Nom for the Team Bushfink Racing team enter the box for the first time. Tony Kernan as well. It's a pit scrambling party here midway through the race, isn't it? In the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Right side tires at least there for Robert Brist. Allen still working that car to the max. Now, is he dealing with damage or are these tires taking some time to heat up? You talked about this last season, Tyler, the new tires on the Mazda MX-5.
I don't know if that's the case. I think really right now, Nicholas Parsonneau able to hold his own, really. I think that John Allen's just had a little bit of trouble getting by him. To be fully honest with you, I truly believe that.
This is going to be intense. Allen finally through. Let's see whether or not Parsonneau will reclaim this advantage. They're going to head through to the final chicane here. Parsno doesn't pit, and I thought he had a nose up the inside. Allen throws the MX-5 through the corner nevertheless. What's your favorite corner on this circuit, Tyler? The final chicane looks thrilling.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be the final chicane. I mean, I love flying a car down into there, sending it over the first set of curbs, and then sending it over the second set of curbs as well. That's just honestly one of my favorite things to do. Like, I love the racetracks like Imola and some tracks like that where you can really send it over some chicane curbs, and you have to really kind of rely on the car's ability to land properly and your ability to kind of catch the car if the car doesn't land quite right. And that's just one of my personal favorite things to have at a racetrack is whenever you have stuff like that.
Yeah, have a look at this. Oh, into the wall is Allen, and there is leader Kevin Carlisle making his way past. Allen saved the car twice, lost it the third time, and he's into the wall. Oh, no. Issues for John Allen here. And a mistake for sure. Yeah, definitely a mistake there. Bit of pressure from Carlisle. Carlisle certainly helped him around a little bit, but not his fault at all. And Allen is having a race to forget. You know, I remember we were watching races last year, and I thought, you know, John Allen close to winning. Will he be able to win the championship potentially for season 16? It doesn't look like it so far.
And Jordy Fike and Chris Thorman are in to the box. So this is how they will stand. Let's see if Nicholas Pargino will come in. No, he will not. And Schwenke as well. He has already made his pit stop, so he will go into what is the net P3 after these guys get their stops done. So nice recovery thus far for Travis Schwenke. And John Allen should slot into fifth. Or should slot into fourth. English is tough. Once these guys all are set and done. Oliver Hartley as well into the pit lane. So 3 MX-5s are in. And I think that is the majority of every class, except for the top 4 in TCR, have already made their stops.
Yeah, and pit stops are going to be different next week, aren't they, Tyler? I should say in a fortnight's time. Next week will be the GT Challenge, of course, for Extreme Motorsports. But we head to Catalonia for the next round of the SportsCar Series. But that will be 90 minutes of action. So only 2 more 60-minute races here to go in the season. And the strategy is a bit more simpler when it comes to the 60-minute races, but it always springs up a surprise in those 90-minute endurance events.
Yeah, because those races, they do have to do 2 pit stops. So there is a multitude of different strategies that can be run when they do that. Kevin Carlisle into the box this time. Whitworth stays out for another lap. That's quite an early stop, I think, for Carlisle. Madigan in as well. And let's see if Riley Downey will come in too, but he has a little bit more time to work with before he comes in. But I think that this is a little bit early for these guys. I feel like they should have tried to extend it out a little bit more and not had to do 25 minutes on those front tires once again. As Nicholas Pargino into the pit lane this time. And we will see if Riley Downey will come in as well for Sunshine's Auto Racing. No, he won't. So it'll be he and Whitworth who stay out on those definitely worn front tires now. But I think any more time that they stay out is just more advantage to them come the end of the race.
Well, hover cars through the pit lane anyway for your leaders. Madigan remains in his box behind Carlisle. Carlisle out and away. Madigan will follow a few seconds behind. And you're allowed to drive through the pace car. No stress about that. I remember we had a race once where, you know, in iRacing, with the contact in the pit lane and you can't make it and all that stuff. A few years ago, we had Alexei Usiakla come and fill in for an FSR race on another sim. And I think he'd forgotten that you could make contact in the pit lane. And I remember his first pit stop in that race, as we see a stricken MX-5 of John Allen struggling to make it home. It looks like that car's done and dusted for today. Yeah, the engine's gone. Certainly, you just heard it blow up. But I remember seeing Carlisle make contact with someone as we watched Whitworth enter the pit lane. And Alexei Usiakla, he made contact with someone exiting the pit lane, is what I'm trying to say. And it was quite a hilarious sight.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of drivers in iRacing take for granted. Now, granted, I would love to see iRacing release the ability to make contact in the pit lane, because I think that would just add so much more depth to these Ricmotech series races and would add a lot of strategy element too, because do you want to pit with somebody who's one pit stop ahead of you, and so you almost have to back up and then go to leave the pit lane? You know, like, what do you want to do? That's something that almost gets played into your strategy, and man, I would love to see it.
Yeah. Let's see, the pit crews, of course, for sure. That's one thing that will be an addition to iRacing that will be heavily loved. And we know iRacing, when they add something, always do it right. So certainly something that we hope is coming to fruition soon enough on the service. It's all about the driving, though. That's what matters. AI, have you had a chance to try the AI on iRacing recently?
Yeah, I think that the AI are awesome. I think that's a really huge stepping stone for iRacing and becoming kind of more of the entry-level sim. I think iRacing before was kind of more of the pro sim. You know, after you've done that Xbox games and you've done your, you know, your Project Cars and Forzas and things like that, then you can kind of come on to do the online stuff. But I feel like that just opened up a whole new market for somebody who maybe doesn't want to race so much online and affect other people's stuff. They still want to develop their skills, and they can do it through the AI, and they can set up exactly how hard they want it to be, so they really are put against some very good racing, and they can really hone their skills and develop their craft while doing that. And I think that is just incredible, and is really opened up the market to so many new people.
So there's I can't quite see who that MX-5 is, but we've had a lot of MX-5s today blow up and end their race. There's John Allen there repairing the car. Was that yeah, I think it was Michael Key in the Frida Sport Racing Blue car, who we saw kicking up smoke through the final sector. So now with Riley Downley into the pit lane, let's have a look at your order for each class of car. For your TCR field, Kevin Carlisle remains in the lead here in the closing 20 minutes of the race, ahead of Brandon Whitworth and Matthew Madigan. It's Eric Violet, Tony Kernan, who follow behind. Then it's Riley Downey and Lucas Ford to round out the field. Tyler, your GS field, it's all on the left side of the screen there. 4 cars remain in this race after a chaotic incident in the early laps.
Yeah, only 4 cars remain, unfortunately, but the gap at the top has been coming down over the last 20 minutes. It was at 1.6 seconds. Now it's down to under 0.4 of a second as they work through traffic this time. Aeronam and Mike Dam, they both go high on the MX-5 of, I believe, is Chris Thorman there. Yes, it was. So it's Chris Thorman in the MX-5 who now rounds around the banking, but these Mustangs really close now for the race lead. This is Nam versus Dam. You know Aeronam's not going to be happy as Mike Dam goes for a spin, and he spins it around into the wall twice, and that is engine damage for Mike Dam, and I think that's going to be his race done. That's a lot of smoke, and I think that that's going to be Mike Dam done. That's going to be a huge points advantage for Aeronam, because Mike Dam will finish down in 4th place, which isn't that low anyway. But he will score quite a bit less points. He will score about 7 points less exactly, and that will give Aeronam a nice 8-point lead.
Critical for the championship right there. That shot of a stricken Canadian in Mike Dam, who is going to enter the pit lane and is going to lose out in comparison to Aeronam in this championship fight. Let's see whether or not he can repair that Mustang. I don't think so. It's going to be a tough one. Struggling to find his box anyway. He's about midway through the pit lane. He's passed all these MX-5 cars right now. So that was a bizarre crash from Mike Dam. But credit to Aeronam for putting the pressure on for sure. He entered this round with a 1-point championship lead, and you knew he needed to stick it to Mike Dam.
And he did just that. I mean, he's only going to walk out of here with an 8-point lead, which, I mean, doesn't sound like anything, but hey, 8 points is 8 points. Whenever you walked in with 1, leaving with 8, that's not a bad day for Aeronam whatsoever in his quest for another championship, which would be, I don't even think I can count on my hands how many championships Aeronam's already gotten in this MX or in this Mustang.
Well, here's Steve Daniel, beneficiary of all the incidents that have taken place this season. Steve Daniel, 5th in the, sixth in the championship right now, and 149 points. He's almost 50 behind, more than 50 behind Eero Nom and Mike Dam in the championship lead. But for Steve Daniel, this will be a best result of the season. Career best result, of course, too, for Steve Daniel in the series. If he can keep it together, that's the next question. Now we switch over to your MX-5 class. We're watching Chris Thorman in 6th. Ahead of him, Alessandrini's dominated this race, and he looks towards claiming a championship, does DJ, after performing really well here through the mid part of season 16. Jim List behind, though. He's maintained the good race pace, remains in 2nd. Travis Schwenke in 3rd for the moment in this event. You can see the rest of the grid on screen on the left-hand side. Robert Hartley there with some damage early on has fallen behind Greg Mack. And, of course, Travis Schwenke, after his pit lane start, up in the 3rd. Looks good for a podium, does Travis. And let's see how the race completes here in the final 15 minutes. Mike Dam in his box still, Tyler. Is he officially out of the race?
I think that is going to be Mike Dam pretty much officially out of the race. And that is Robert Hartley up and over the curbing, pushing a little bit too hard. He's down on straight line speed over Chris Thorman, but that was an unforced error for Mike Dam. And that is, for Robert Hartley.
For Hartley, yeah.
And that's going to be very unfortunate indeed. Sorry, just trying to get a replay here. There we go. Now
goodness.
we can get another replay of what happened to Robert Hartley.
We caught a bizarre shot of him skipping over the curbs there. So here's the replay on screen. Now, I think this certainly, damage has certainly had a part to play in this. But has there been contact here? I want to see. Nah, there's no contact. Not even close. He's just, I mean, the damage, it's not easy to drive that MX-5, you know, and he's just carried a bit too much speed into the entry. That's a common theme around this circuit when you watch drivers lap around Charlotte, is that turn 11-12 chicane there. You certainly seem to lose the rear end as you climb from the banking over to the flat chicane.
Yeah, it's super easy to do, especially in an MX-5 with as much damage as Robert Hartley has on it. Hasn't lost 5th place, though, to Chris Thorman yet. I say yet for one reason, because skipping over the curb is definitely not going to be great for the car. Let's just put it that way. I don't think MX-5s are made to be rally cars, but Robert Hartley seemed to make it work today. But Chris Thorman, you can see the superior speed he's got with that fully clean MX-5 versus the quite mangled MX-5 that we have there with Robert Hartley, and Thorman will move up to 5th. Next driver to move up past Hartley is Jordy Fike, who's about 10 seconds down the road. So I don't expect he will be able to catch up in the 15 minutes remaining.
Now, it'll be tough for sure. Here's Hartley, though, all over the rear end of Chris Thorman. Thorman's driven well this race. This is a great race, a chance for some of those drivers who don't finish as high up as usual to claim a good, strong haul of points. But let's see how they go. Through the final chicane is Rob Hartley. And who's that behind him? Jacob Beasley. Hey, didn't I speak about Jacob Beasley trying to have a good race? Now, it looks like Beasley is in this fight, doesn't it, Tyler? But I don't mean to excite everybody at home. He's actually a lap down, unfortunately.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, Jacob Beasley, he's improved so much this season. You can see he's hanging right there with these guys, but just had a bit of unfortunate luck early on. Had to get a bunch of repairs done to the car, and is now a lap down and not in this fight. Actually, several laps down, I think, and not in this fight. So, unfortunate for him, but the battle for 2nd place in TCR, it started to come down a little bit. Whitworth is now starting to feel the pressure just slightly from Matt Madigan in the Nerdworks racing car.
I'll tell you what, Tyler, every time we think this race is, you know, I sometimes will be in the commentary booth, right? Honest thoughts here, and I think like, oh my God, the race has died down. And then we start talking about a topic, right? You know, you and I would just talk some, are we allowed to say BS? Well, I've said it now. Talk some BS every now and then. And then all of a sudden there's a battle out there on the racetrack. I feel like this series doesn't take a break. The Ricmotech Sports Car Series for you. I don't cover the GT Challenge, but yeah, I'm sure the GT Challenge has a lot of action and stuff. But for 60 minutes of racing action, man, the Sports Car Series always produces a thrill.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I love the GT Challenge, don't get me wrong, but I get so excited whenever it's Sports Car Series night, especially in the 60-minute format, because, I mean, it just produces awesome racing, you know? I mean, I feel like in the GT Challenge, everything's a little bit more kind of endurance-oriented. It's more like our 90-minute races. We're really diving into strategy, and there's really that to talk about, you know what I mean? And there's, you know, how things are going to pan out there, but this is some good old, hard-fought racing on the racetrack. That's what the Sports Car Series has, and we see that time and time again, you know, on the GT Challenge side, but we're kind of seeing that the dying moments where in the Sports Car Series, we kind of see it scattered throughout the races in different classes. So there's always something to be covered in all the different classes, and I just love it.
Yeah. And the grandstands are packed in the background for sure. No coronavirus here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And certainly, that's a big crowd, let me tell you that much. Surely an infection or two somewhere in there, Tyler.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a large crowd that has come to the Charlotte Motor Speedway today to watch this incredible racing. Man, how couldn't you have a large crowd here? That's like going and bringing a NASCAR race here and telling nobody to show up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's one thing I love about NASCAR, you know, is you know, you love hearing the crowd after an incident. You love having that atmosphere. And that's something that I think sim racing can do better at, you know. When I do commentary for sim racing, and whenever I've covered, you know, something in the real world, for example, when you hear the atmosphere of the crowd, it makes a huge difference to a broadcast for sure, you know, especially when you... I remember when Formula One went to Australia in 2014 under the new turbo hybrid era, and during qualifying there, I remember being in the crowd for that one, and when Daniel Ricciardo crossing the line had pole, and when he lost pole, and you hear it on TV too, you hear the crowd erupt, you know, and I feel like if we can improve that in sim racing broadcasting over the next few years, is capturing a crowd, even having live crowds at certain event, that's something that you'd love to hear the atmosphere of.
Yeah, I would love to have that included in our cam packs. You know what I mean? Like, I would just love to have that included within the sim where you just kind of hear that as a background deal for the crowd kind of reacting to some things and whatnot. I feel like that would be a really cool atmosphere to have. And I feel like we almost get that with some of the more live sim racing events that we've been having where, you know, you've got events such as Sim Racing Expo, the BMW events that they've been putting on, like events like that that have live crowds. You really get more of an atmosphere feeling like you were talking about, and it makes a real difference. Like, it makes everyone, even the viewers at home, almost feel a little bit more involved, I feel like.
Yeah, certainly. I'd love to get involved in those too, by the way. So certainly Tyler would be the same. So can you, if you're people who get involved in those events, can you please message us to do something? I'd love to get involved in the Sim Expo. Everyone always tells me to go every year, Tyler, but I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not poor or anything, but if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars on flights and tickets and hotels, like, I'm going to make it worth it, not just for one weekend, you know? Oh,
I agree. I mean, I honestly am thinking about trying to catch a flight to Germany for it. I feel like it would be such a cool event to go to, even if I'm working for free. I don't even care. I mean, I just want to just go and be involved in the atmosphere of it. You know what I mean? And be involved and check out all the new sim racing gear that we have coming up. I feel like that's one of the really cool events that we get in the year that I don't feel like a ton of people get to experience. And I think that would be so cool to kind of bring that to the different parts of the world and not just have that in Germany, but also bring it to Australia, bring it to the Americas, bring it to, you know, kind of the Chinese area and things like that. Like, bring it to all those different countries around the world and kind of let everybody, sim racing fans from everywhere, get to experience a large sim racing event like that.
Yeah, certainly. As we watch here, this is Tony Kernan on screen. Now, in the MX-5 field, Chris Thorman and Robert Hartley were in a nice little battle. Here they are on screen. Thorman just made his way past Hartley, and he almost into the barrier. Is that the camera shot getting me again, I think?
I'm not sure, but I think that they were definitely close to getting into the barrier, but I feel like you're almost close to getting into the barrier every single time there. It's almost like Sebring. If you're not brushing your driver's side mirror on the inside wall at Sebring, then you're not close enough to it. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing here, as Hartley nearly gets into the wall, though, as the TCR traffic comes through, and that's going to cost Kernan a lot of time on Whitworth.
Well, sorry to interrupt there. I saw Thorman butcher the final chicane and almost handed top 5 position to Hartley. Here is oh my God, you can't take a break, isn't it? One of the TCR cars making their way past. That is Tony Kernan in the 84. Now trying to make his way past Mr. Beasley, who's at least finishing this race, Beasley, which is good for him for some points, hopefully. I'm not sure if he'll get them, though, because he's all the way down in 12th in his class. Thorman yet again here. Will he butcher the entry back on to the oval? Hartley pushing to the limit as well. Man, I tell you what, Hartley doesn't look his normal self today. I don't know if it's the damage or not, but he's certainly not the Robert Hartley that we know of. Not the one that we saw last week.
No, certainly not. I mean, that's just one of the deals, I think, with damage. I feel like damage really alters the way a race car handles, and if the race car doesn't handle particularly amazing for you, even whenever you don't have damage, then you add damage onto the fact, and it just makes things 10 times harder than it is already. I mean, it just adds so much more to you that you have to try and deal with, and it can make things nearly impossible, especially in an MX-5 if you have quite a bit of steering damage.
And to begin another lap here with 5 minutes to go in this event now. So your DNFs in this race so far, we've had Sanchinelli out, Russ Ruddock, Jeff Jacobs, Elvis Rankin out of the race too, Tyler. There's been a lot of DNFs, of course, here today. For Rankin, do we officially write off his championship charge now with that DNF?
Let me quickly refer to my point sheet, and yes, we do. I think we can pretty much 100% write that off because Schwenke will receive, as I try to pull up my points here, Schwenke will receive 35 points today. Or sorry, yeah, Allison Drini, will receive 35 points today. And with Rankin finishing last with his DNF, he won't receive any points, I don't believe. So, yeah. Pretty much going to fully write that one off. Schwenke will be at about Allison Drini. I don't know why I keep saying Schwenke, but Allison Drini will be about 50 points ahead of Rankin. And that's going to pretty much be championship over, I think, for him. Unfortunately, I mean, he showed such great pace in the opening few rounds, and kind of just everything went downhill from there, I would say.
Yeah, exactly it. And have a look at that on the left-hand side of the screen. Kevin Ford is actually out there, or is he back out there on the racetrack? I think Kevin Ford, am I wrong with that? I think I see Kevin Ford out there racing away. So there he is after repairing that car. Well done to Kevin Ford, because he'll have 4th place to his name after issues from Mike Dam kept him out of this event. So good stuff from our Extreme Motorsports Vice President out there racing away. And also a big thank you, too, behind the scenes. I don't think people realize how much Kevin Ford and the rest of the team behind. I'm sure there's a lot of names we're leaving out for sure, but Kevin Ford, we certainly know there's a lot of work behind the scenes to make this series what it is. But I'm sure, Tyler, that every now and then he'd give up a little bit of that hard work for a race win, which he has been oh so longing for.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost just a matter of time. I mean, like you said, the guy just doesn't have that much time, I don't think, to practice. I don't understand how you could. I mean, for everything he does for us every single week, you know, I mean, he provides us a full page of notes, plus a track guide, plus everything else that he provides for us during the week. I don't understand how the guy even has time to practice as is. So, I mean, huge shout out though to Kevin Ford, seriously. He does so much for us behind the scenes, and the whole staff, honestly, at Ricmotech do so... Wow, that was close. Sorry, I had to cut the sentence off. That's an MX-5 through the grass. That's the 55 of Oliver Hartley. But that was nearly some very big contact there between Tony Kernan and Eric Violet.
Yeah, for Hartley, though, at least he wasn't in the way like he was at Interlagos, remember? That was a chaotic one earlier this season. Hartley this time improving his standards for sure. Didn't do anything wrong there, did Robert Hartley? Just wrong place, wrong time with the leaders. Here is Violet versus Tony Kernan here in a nice little battle. Making their way past. Is that Rankin back on the racetrack? Goodness me, Elvis Rankin still racing? I thought he was a DNF for now. Just trying to race away nevertheless here as they enter the oval and exit the infield for the final time this lap. Only a few minutes to go. Violet under attack here from Kernan. Potentially alongside each other. I think it's going to be a drag race across the back straight here. It's going to be tough and tight, though, heading into the chicane. And we've seen incidents all day. I pray we don't see one here.
Oh, and there's a bit of contact. They're both going to go sideways. TCR into the wall. That's Tony Kernan. And that, we've seen it time and time again. I don't understand how many times it's going to take for these guys to figure out that it just doesn't work to go side by side.
Oh, man. Here it is. Kernan. Who was ahead here? Kernan was actually ahead, believe it or not. Violet tried to stick it around the inside. That's never going to work. And, of course, racing incident there, Tyler. But 2 and a 1 doesn't go through there. And like you said, they've sort of got to figure that out next time we travel here next season. That Charlotte, as fun of a circuit as it is to drive, isn't always the easiest to overtake at.
No, it certainly isn't. And it's, I mean, we see so many different incidents happen. And I think most of it is due to just not leaving enough space. I feel like at this track, you kind of think that you are leaving more space than you really are. And a lot of these corners, it's hard to leave space. I mean, some of these corners, you just naturally push out wide as is. And then whenever you have another car that you're not really expecting to be there and you've almost kind of planned for that line, it's really hard to change it on a moment's notice at this racetrack. I feel like this is just one of those very tricky tracks in general where it's not the easiest to do anything with. But this time, Kevin Carlisle, he came across the line. That was the white flag in the air that time, and he will be on his final lap of the race. That will mean Aeronam is on his final lap as well. So, too, will be DJ Alessandrini, I believe. No, he won't. I think DJ Alessandrini actually will still have 2 laps to go because he has not been lapped by Carlisle yet.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Yeah, I think you're correct there, Tyler. So Alessandrini, let's hope that car's fueled to the finish at least. He's dominated this race. Probably the best performance I've ever seen from DJ Alessandrini. Slightly aided by everybody else's demise behind. As we watch Carlisle here. Oh, man, is he going to win this race, Tyler? You don't know. Oh, no! Contact with Carlisle for the lead here. Is Whitworth going to get involved? There is Brandon Whitworth. He snatches the lead from Kevin Carlisle on the final lap. And the D2D esports driver. Now, there is still one chicane to go. And if he can manage that without issues, we'll take victory here from Charlotte for round 7 of season 16 for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, and Carlisle behind is furious.
What did we just witness in the final few seconds of this race? Wow. That was interesting. Let's get a replay here of just exactly what happened. So there was 2 MX-5s battling. You can see them there. That was Jordy Fike and the 79. The 79 of Nicholas Parsono, who actually made contact there with Carlisle. Now let's get another angle. This time we're going to go on board with Parsono, who actually made contact here. I just want to see what they kind of saw. So he makes contact with Jordy Fike, kind of gets on the brakes, misses the corner, straight into the side of Kevin Carlisle. Nowhere for Carlisle to go. Whitworth says, thank you very much. I will take that indeed. And he rolls through to take victory. I mean, what do we just see?
I mean, Carlisle's got to know not to pick this fight, right? Like, I don't know. I've been in this situation in the past. You know, I've lost many race wins from backmarkers, and I've learned my lesson. You know, you've got a 2.5 second advantage before that. Just back off. You got one more corner, one more chicane, and you're going to win this race. You know, you don't need to pick that fight for Carlisle. You don't need to make your way through as fast as that. And yes, it's not his fault, but could have been prevented nevertheless. Now, we saw Aero Nom cross the line to take victory for your GS class. He extends his championship lead. Podiums for Steve Daniel and Robert Brist. Memorable podiums for those two. And a win for DJ Alessandrini as he crosses the line here. Man, we have a lot of results here to look at. But like I said, Tyler, I think for Carlisle, not his fault, but he didn't need to pick that fight.
Yeah, he really didn't need to pick the fight, and unfortunately, we don't have race results working.
But
So,
it reminds me of when Max Verstappen's trying to lap Esteban Ocon, or Esteban Ocon was trying to unlap himself. Verstappen can just let him through, not have to worry about it, or blah blah blah, and he wins that race. At Brazil, this was a couple of years ago. But again, for Carlisle, you got 1 corner to go, 2.5 seconds in the lead. Just you don't need to throw your car into the corner like that. Try to make your way past. So I'm sure Carlisle was in the worst situation, but man, that could have seriously been avoided. Even the 2 MX-5s, the MX-5s have to be aware that the leaders are coming here on the final lap, but lap drivers, Tyler. Lap drivers are never the smartest ones in the world. I've lost many world championship wins due to lap drivers. I just don't think they know what they're doing.
yeah, I agree with that. I think that people kind of lose their minds whenever they're lap traffic. I feel like most drivers just kind of think, oh, I'm a lap car, get out. You've got to kind of go by me. But I feel like most of the time, if they would just kind of just calm down a little bit, think a little bit more, then I think that we could have a lot more incidents be prevented by lap cars. But unfortunately, race results aren't able to be displayed right now, so we just have a bit of timing tower on the side for you. But Johnny, take us through it.
Yeah, so we'll once we get the race results, we'll bring them up unofficially. But it's Brandon Whitworth who takes victory. Hey, Brandon Whitworth's happy. Someone's happy here. The D2D esports driver takes a memorable victory for himself, and it'll be a good strong haul of points for the championship ahead of Kevin Carlisle. Now, Carlisle still looks good for the title, but his championship lead certainly been brought down after dominating this race. Carlisle ends up in second after that final lap incident. Madigan third for a podium. Good stuff from the Nerdworks driver. Violet remained ahead of Kernan there towards the end of the race, and the rest of the field rounded out by Riley Downey and Lucas Ford in 7th. For your GS class, this is the odd one here to look for. Aeronom wins, Steve Daniels second, Robert Briss third. I'm glad we have a podium to classify, which would be bizarre if we didn't. Memorable podiums for Steve Daniel and Robert Briss. In 4th was Kevin Ford. He's, I think, classified as a finisher. I think he's done enough laps here to win this race. Mike Dam with the DNF in 5th. Jeff Jacobs and Russ Ruddock also out of the race in 6th and 7th. Then we switch over to your MX-5 order, and DJ Alessandrini dominated the race today due to everybody else's demise behind. And Tyler, that was a story as we look through the order here. For DJ Alessandrini is, yes, he dominated the race, but he was helped by everybody else's demise behind.
Yeah, he definitely was kind of helped by everyone else's demise, but nonetheless, still pretty good result for him. And yeah, so that's pretty much our grid here today, or our finishers, and then the rest of them just now, everyone rolled through, and we just wait for interviews to commence.
Yeah, certainly. So the rest of that order for your MX-5s, of course, the podium included Jim List and Travis Schwenke. Greg Mack, Chris Thorman follow behind in 4th and 5th. Robert Hartley, with all that damage, still ended up with 6th. So he struggled, didn't he, today, Robert Hartley, with the damage. But he certainly brought the car home for some good points. Not in contention for the championship anyway, so it's not really a big deal for the American. Geordie Fike ended up 7th, and rounding out the top 10 was Nicholas Parsono, Brendan Horan, and Greg Brockway. For now, though, we're going to switch to interview time, and it's your overall winner, Brandon Whitworth, who, Brandon, I think 3 minutes ago you weren't expecting to drop in for an interview. Well, now here you are. Congrats on the victory. A bizarre one here on the final lap.
Thank you. The traffic giveth, the traffic taketh away, right?
Yeah, I think so. You were, the opening laps for you guys were chaotic, with the traffic. And you seemed to catch the traffic earlier than I expected too.
Yeah, we came on them pretty quick, and I just tried to stay tight. Actually, I tried to keep all 3 of us tight so we could get around the traffic pretty smoothly, and that seemed to go pretty well.
And what do you think about the final lap there? I'm a big fan of Kevin Carlisle. We'll get along really well, but if anything I've learned from my experience in sim racing is that you don't need to pick a fight with the lapped cars. Yeah, he had 2.5 seconds on you. If he just remains behind and loses a second there through the chicane, he wins that race.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I could have caught him. I wasn't having any luck with traffic at the end. I would make a little time and then lose a little time. what are you gonna do?
But I tell you what, for you and the D2D esports team, yeah, you sort of lucked out for victory today, but you've had your bad luck in the past too, so this sometimes makes up for it. But you don't have luck without putting yourself in that position. You had the pace here, and if you didn't have the pace, you wouldn't have been in that position for the win. You guys behind the scenes have just done such a splendid job this season in the Audi.
Yeah, we finally got it going, picked it up pretty well. It's going pretty well for us. I'm glad to see that one of us usually has pace, right? So I guess that's good enough.
You think you're good enough for the championship now?
I don't know. I usually don't think about that. I just try to win every race, right? Do the best you can.
Well said. Very political answer, Brandon. I like it. Well said there. Anybody to thank here for the D2D esports team? A victory for sure that, as I said 5 minutes ago, you didn't expect, but one that you'll be celebrating for the rest of the night for sure.
Yeah, I thank my teammates, family. Thank the guys running the league. They do a good job here. So, it was a good race.
So there you go. That's Brandon Whitworth, our overall winner here for Round 7, Season 16 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. We have one more interview lining up for the moment. We're expecting a few others to flock in, but it'll be Tyler Maxson alongside Jim List, who came home second in your ST class.
Jim, second place in the ST class tonight. I think it was a pretty uneventful race from you. I mean, I don't remember any standout moments. So,
yeah, it was pretty boring. I mean, obviously, my race setup was not where it needed to be. I learned that in the first couple of laps. It looked like the guys in front of me just had the car hooked up insane, and I was just kind of holding on to her. I definitely feel like in the long run, my tire wear was a little bit better than everybody else, like John Allen and everybody. But after that, I think it was lap 5 or 4 incident with Elvis and Rob Hartley. I mean, DJ was 9 seconds in front of me after that, and Allen was 2.5. So I just managed the gap with Allen until he got taken out or spun out or something. And then pretty much all I did the entire time was just drive around there.
And like you said, you didn't have the best of race setups. If you could have done it again, would you have done anything differently kind of going into this event or through this event?
Man, I don't know. I mean, ever since the new update that came out, I mean, I've been just struggling every single place I go. I mean, sometimes I hit it. I felt like when I was at Motegi, I had a really good setup, but unfortunately my computer crashed, so I couldn't make the race. But yeah, and I think Road Atlanta, I had a pretty good setup. It just ended up, traffic, and then I got taken out. So I think it's kind of almost the luck of the draw kind of situation. But it seems like that's not always the case with DJ. He's always up there week in and week out, and I mean he can find the extra couple of tenths that I can't right now. So I'm gonna try to push and see if I can't figure out what he's doing, but other than that, I mean, I'm pretty stuck where I am right now. I'm kind of in the best of the rest category this year, it feels like.
Well, congratulations once again on second place. Is there any shout outs you want to give before we let you go?
I just want to shout out to Ricmotech, obviously, for putting on this great series, and all the admins and everybody, and my team, D2D Esports, all the guys back there. Obviously, congrats to Brandon on the win and Eric on the third place. And yeah, looking forward to next week.
Well, congratulations once again, Jim, and we hope to see you back in 2 weeks' time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So next up will be winner from your GS class, Aero Nom. Aero, you've extended your championship lead, but I tell you what, I can't remember a more chaotic race than that. It brought me memories of Motegi with the incident in the early laps between yourself and Mike Dam. Talk about that.
Yeah, I couldn't see the replay because, but on the broadcast I was just now, looks like, I gave room for Mike, and Mike probably, like you said, missed the corner and got inside of me. And I don't know if we had another contact when he spun, but it was I feel so bad for Kevin and Jeff. I think that's the most important.
Yeah, they were caught up in the incident. I suggested if you're Kevin and Jeff, that they have a passion to win, right? So they were flooring their way through it. Do you think they would have been able to make their way through it if they just backed off the throttle a little bit, just been a little bit safer? Do you think they would have made it through cleanly and even possibly won this race?
Yeah, I think it's so hard. Maybe they didn't see. And if you back off, you can spin yourself, and especially in the last corner, go to the wall. So it's really easy to crash when you're going slower too. So, but yeah, it's very hard to say.
For you though, anyway, we know you're talented and everything, but I still don't know how you won this race. For some reason, I think twice that race, I thought you were going to be out, but you made it through to the finish of the race win. Relieved feeling for the championship, surely?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about this race. It was really tough. Maybe it's too tough for these cars. So many cars. Maybe you need big stock cars with fenders you can push to the walls. And yeah, I didn't think I was going to win because before the pit stop, I hit the wall on turn 2. I think the inside wall, the pit exit wall. So my steering was a little bit off. So I didn't think I will catch Mike, but yeah. It worked out, and Mike had a really bad crash, and I was able to avoid him, so it was really close there too.
And a lot of people to thank, of course. You and the Team Bushfink team have had a long partnership for sure, and another race victory to add to your name.
Yeah, very long. I can't remember when I joined, but yeah, it's been fun to race their colors. So.
All right, we'll leave you to it, Eero. We'll talk to you, in a fortnight's time. We'll see you for the next race of the SportsCar series. So we'll leave you to it until then. But for now, we will leave DJ Alessandrini alongside Tyler Maxson for our final interview for the day.
DJ, welcome to the commentator booth. I think I said this exact same thing to Jim, but I think that you had a pretty uneventful race. I don't remember any major incidents happening. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. We had a lot of stuff go down in that race.
No, my race was squeaky clean. I brought the car back exactly the way it left. But I wasn't managing pace or anything. I made it a personal mental hurdle to just send every single lap, and doing that for an hour at this place is pretty challenging. But it became at some point a game of how much could I win by, and I think I ended up winning by 24, 25 seconds. So I'd say I had a good night.
Yeah, and that's really impressive because a lot of drivers I don't think can handle pushing for an hour straight. I feel like, a lot of drivers would make a mistake in that point, but obviously you did that to perfection and you were able to really extend your gap in the end. I mean, really, what a drive.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it tonight, and the Roval I think really caters to my strengths as a driver, which is just precision. And on the Roval, you just have to be precise. And with just my autocross background, that's how I started. Being precise is the name of the game. So just being inch perfect everywhere, just consistent. That's how you get good at that thing. And I think I built a lot of good habits from that. And it transfers well over to road racing, especially at technical places where being able to place the car on the same inch lap after lap after lap while it's sliding and moving around is extremely beneficial.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. If you want to get good at a technical racetrack, you go start autocross racing. But nonetheless, amazing drive from you, DJ. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the guys in Discord. I was pretty laser focused tonight, so I wasn't really in there. But normally it's just a really good time in that Discord. So I just want to say thanks to those guys for just sharing setup ideas and techniques, and we're just all trying to get better. And I'd like to thank my dad. He's been kind of going above and beyond. Recently, he went out and picked up a truck that I wanted to look at, but I was getting tied up with work, and he's been kind of going to town on the thing, even though I tell him to stop. He's doing like full brake jobs, and I just keep buying parts that he tells me to, and eventually I'll be able to get to his house and pick up the truck that's going to tow the race car around. And he keeps working on it, even though I tell him not to. So I'm very thankful for him.
Well, congratulations once again, DJ. And we hope to speak with you in 2 weeks' time whenever we return to the Sports Car Series.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
So I think that's it, Tyler, for today's action, of course. The next race will be in a fortnight's time. Looking forward to it at Catalunya?
I'm looking very much forward to it. The Catalunya is very tricky. It's similar to the Charlotte Roval, I feel like, where we haven't really run it before. No one really knows what's to expect from it. But I still think we have one thing that we can't expect. Incredible racing another week in the Sports Car Series. That's kind of a given at this point. But, I figured I'd throw it out there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like we said, these roaring and soaring sports cars, they'll be back racing again in a fortnight's time. So it'll be 90 minutes around the Circuit de Catalunya, one of the newest circuits to the iRacing service. That hosts round 8 for Season 16 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. 3 rounds to go, including next week. It'll all be broadcasted exclusively on Apex Racing TV. Let's bring this series to the Esports Network next season. Let's bring that petition up. Thanks to everybody, of course, who joined us for today's broadcast. We get a multitude of viewers from week to week. And I hope you enjoy all the action, of course, as usual. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Tyler Maxon alongside me, and the entire Apex Racing TV crew. Hope you enjoyed this Apex Racing TV presentation. Visit apexracingtv.com for more information on our iRacing broadcasting services. Get your league involved in iRacing broadcasting with Apex Racing TV. Our winners today, oh goodness me, 3 classes of cars. It was supposed to be Kevin Carlisle. It's going to be Brandon Whitworth. It was Aero Nom for your GS class and DJ Alessandrini in a dominant win for your ST class. Someone in the crowd today is going to have the coronavirus. There were too many people in those Charlotte grandstands. Let's hope they're all safe, though. We're going to say so long from North Carolina virtually, and thank goodness it's virtually, otherwise that virus will be spreading. We'll say so long from the Apex Racing TV commentary booth. See you in a couple of weeks' time. GT action next Tuesday. I won't be there, but enjoy it anyway.